Know what would really suck? Imagine playing a video game, spending 90 hours on it, getting to the end, and then finding out that there was no main quest, the main character is boring and unfulfilling, and the entire 90 hours was a meaningless waste of time. In life, you're going to spend 90,000 hours working and creating things. So just like in a game, in life, it's really important that you find your main quest. The main quest is what gives you purpose, meaning, and fulfillment in life. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how. Now, a lot of the time when people are thinking about what to do with their life, they ask the question, how do I find purpose? It's an innocent question, but it's the wrong question. I want you to think of it like this. Life is not a linear adventure game like Mario or Zelda, where there's a set plot and you're a set character and you do a set of things and then the game is over. Instead, I want you to think of life like a non-linear, open world role-playing game where you get to pick your character, you get to pick your class, and the assembly of quests that you do is going to vary based on your decisions. This means that because life is an RPG, there are so many characters and skills and classes and even party members that you can pick. And honestly, just like in a really good RPG, sometimes all the optionality can get a bit overwhelming. Instead of worrying about how do I find my purpose among all these different options, I want you to instead think, which adventure would I enjoy the most and be the best use of my time? It really is that simple. I mean, no one's gonna give you your purpose, but just like if you're playing a game, you have a controller and you're a player, so you get to choose what the character does. And the way that you would choose what the character does in a game is basically according to 4 factors. 1, you would find something that is fun enough to keep you engaged. 2nd, you would find something that feels important enough to be worth your time. And then 3rd, you would find something that you could get rewarded enough because it's useful to other characters in the game, i.e. get paid. And finally, you would want something that's useful enough that it's adding value to other people's lives. Because what's the point of playing a game where the main character is just selfish and doesn't actually contribute anything else to the world? That would really be awful. So that's how you can think of it. Fun, important, rewarding, and useful. That's what you're gonna be looking for when you decide what your main quest is. So to actually go through this methodologically, I recommend that you follow 3 steps. The first step is clarity, the second step is catalyzing, and the third step is creation. Here's a high-level breakdown. Okay, let's start with phase 1, clarity. This is where you want to look at your past to understand what would be good to do in your future. And we're going to start with looking at your childhood. Now, this sounds silly, but look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk, growing up as a kid, was super into arcade games, video games, and sci-fi books. So it's no wonder that the guy who read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy wants to get us all as a species to explore the galaxy. Or Steve Jobs. As a kid, he loved playing with electronics and building television receivers and radio transmitters. So it's no wonder that that childhood joy transmitted into what he did as an adult as a founder of Apple. Or you could look at Einstein's dad. When Einstein was 5, his dad bought him a magnetic compass, and he was so in awe of the fact that a magnetic compass could be influenced by invisible forces to do something useful, and that informed his study of physics. So I want you to start with the question, what gave you joy as a child? For example, when I was a kid, I loved reading books. Specifically, I loved reading sci-fi and fantasy, books like Redwall and Animorphs. I also really love video games. My first favorite game was Star Fox 64. I also had this weird passion for words. I liked the game Hooked on Phonics. It was supposed to be a game that they just teach you how to read through, and I actually thought it was really fun. So now it's no wonder that I love making content using video game analogies to teach people things that are useful and going to help them master their own life, because that's what I naturally gravitating toward as a child. Okay, so why does it even matter to look at the things that you were passionate about or maybe even really good at as a child? Well, the psychologist Howard Gardner identified not just 1, but 8 different types of intelligence that we all have access to. So there's a normal type of intelligence that people usually think of, like logical, rational intelligence. But there's also bodily kinesthetic intelligence, like the type that someone who's really in touch with their body, like a ballerina or an athlete might have. There's linguistic intelligence, the ability to communicate. There's interpersonal intelligence, which is like social intelligence. And if you think of these 8 different intelligences, it's kind of like being in a video game. If you think of those graphs that they had for Pokemon that would show the different affinities that each Pokemon would have, well, you're kind of like that too. So experience points that you invest in an area that you're good at and you're passionate about are going to give you a better return on investment and make you a more potent main character with a better main quest if you focus on those areas. So it's good to look at your childhood to see what intelligences or stat categories you naturally have an affinity for. It's kind of like if you invest your EXP in your affinity areas, you're gonna get a multiplier on. Now for the second part of the first phase, you need to start looking at the present. Specifically, what are the things about your current or most recent career that you enjoyed the most, and what did you enjoy the least? And here you can look at a set of categories where I want you to rate 1 through 10 how your last or current career rates in those categories. This is useful because look, if you're watching this video, there's probably something that feels like it's missing about your current career, but there's probably also some things that are really good that you want to keep when you move into your main quest. So it's worth understanding what those are specifically. And the more that you can get clear on what you like and dislike about your current quest, the better you'll be able to identify what your main quest is. And now finally, I want you to do a comprehensive high-level assessment of your life by asking yourself the question, if you were to die today and someone wrote a eulogy and they read it out at your funeral, being honest with yourself, what would it say? What would be in the completed quest log of your life? What would be in the incomplete quest log for your life? Now, if all you could say is that you made a bunch of money and you retired early, or you worked a 9 to 5 building someone else's dream, but you never actually got to chase your dream, is that a eulogy that you'd be happy with? And what are some highlights of your life that you are happy with and you would be really proud to be remembered by? Both of these are going to help you get even more clear on what your main quest is. And now that I think of it, it would probably be really great for someone to be able to say at your eulogy, you subscribed and you liked this channel. Now, by this point, you're probably like, damn, this is a lot of really powerful and deep questions that I'm not going to be able to answer in a few seconds. If so, you're paying attention correct. Now, you could pause the video, but for your convenience, I've also included a free worksheet in the description of the video that you can fill out yourself. So I got you. And if you're the kind of person who likes to pause videos and then follow up on action items before continuing, here's an overview of section 1, clarity. Now it's time for phase 2, which is catalyze. Now by catalyze, I basically mean that you need enough leverage on yourself to spark you with enough motivation to take action. And there's 2 ways that we as humans are all motivated to take action. One is through pain and the other is through pleasure. And here's a secret. We're a lot more motivated by avoidance of pain than we are motivated by pursuit of pleasure. It's just a fact. Research by Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Prize winner and the author of Thinking Fast and Slow, reveals that we're actually about twice as motivated by avoidance of loss or pain than we are motivated by desiring of gain or pleasure. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, if you think about it, in a game, if you have 100 hit points, I mean, yeah, it'll be nice to get a temporary stat boost where you have 120 hit points, but it's a lot bigger of a deal if you have a poison debuff and it's ticking away and killing you. So pain is generally going to be more motivating than pleasure. But don't worry, we're going to use both pleasure and pain to motivate you to grow. The way we use pleasure is by getting you super clear on an exciting life vision that inspires you to act. You can think of this vision as an insight into what it'll look like when your character is max level, you've done the highest level quests, and you have the best loot in the game. We're also going to get you clear on your anti-vision. This is basically the mediocre playthrough of your game. It's the version where you get to an okay level, but you don't really get to the highest level stuff, and you have a life that's full of mediocrity and regret, which is not what we want for you. But here are 3 questions to get you started on your vision. The first question is, what impact do I want to have as a main character? Who do I want to impact? How do I want to impact them? How will I want to change the world? What do I want people to be able to say about me and the character that I was in the world that I'm in? The second question is, what kind of lifestyle do I want? Do I want to live in the mountains or in an urban environment? Do I want fast cars or big boats? Do I want to live a more introverted lifestyle with a few people around me? Or do I want to live an extroverted lifestyle where I'm collecting a whole bunch of people and have a super big guild? It's all up to you. And you should really have fun with this. Don't worry so much about can I achieve it, because as a child, you weren't worrying about what you could achieve, and you don't worry about what you can achieve in a video game, so just treat life like a video game. And the final question is, what kind of people do I want in my party? This is where it's really important to know yourself, because let's say you're a fighter in a game. You probably don't want a party that's all fighters, but you probably want some people who both are similar to you and are different than you, like mages and archers. And the way to think about this is, okay, for the impact that I want to have and the main quest that I want to accomplish, what kind of people do I need around me that are going to be most supportive of that? After you define your vision, it's time for your anti-vision. You can think of vision as your heaven and anti-vision as your hell. And this is going to be the most painful part of the process, but the reason why you want to be clear on your anti-vision is so that you imagine the pain now instead of experiencing it later. So the question I want you to sit down and take like 20 minutes to answer for yourself is, if I don't find and follow my main quest, then what will my life look like in 5 years? What misery will you experience? What resentment, regret, bitterness will you experience? And this is one of the things that very few people do. So what they have is an idea of what they want, but they don't have an idea of what they're avoiding. So they don't actually generate the motivation to act. And we don't want you to just think about what would be great. We also want you to think about what you want to avoid. So that's how you want to think of, how do I fill my party? So to recap, here's an overview of phase 2, Catalyze, in case you'd like to do the questions now and then resume the video later. Now it's time for the final step. It's time to go get into creation mode and actually play the game. This is the part where people really get stuck. Most people treat their life like a consumer and not a creator. They read and they watch and they study, but they don't actually go try and experiment and be willing to fail. It's silly. It would almost be like reading a guide about a game rather than actually playing the game. Yeah, if you read the guide and then you play the game, you're gonna accelerate even faster. But no amount of reading guides and watching videos is going to get you to the point where you win the game if you don't actually pick up the controller and play. So I really want you to shift your mindset from, I'm going to consume a bunch of content and self-help, to I'm just gonna try a bunch of experiments and mess around until I find something that really, really clicks. Because just like in a video game, sometimes even finding what your main quest can be, although simple because it just requires a bunch of introspection and iteration, it can be hard and discouraging. You will have times where you feel completely fucking lost and you need to check the minimap again. There will be times when you stop following your main quest and you pick up the game again and you forget where you even left off. There will be times when you thought you're supposed to complete one objective, but it turns out that an even more important objective emerged. That's all okay, and it's not wrong. Sometimes you need to get lost before your purpose is found. And trust me, I've been there. I've had a super, super weird life. I went to Harvard because I thought that that was my main quest, and then I got there and I was miserably depressed and super lost. Then I worked in the video game industry producing esports events like the League of Legends World Championship, which was really fun, but it kind of left something missing. Then I quit that and I wanted to find my purpose, and I didn't know where to start, so I just started by doing the thing that was most interesting to me at the time, which was being a professional gamer. I did that for a while, and then I became a professional esports commentator. And I did that for a while, and then I ended up going on a healing journey to introspect and really find my main character energy, and that resulted in me becoming a guide for other people on their quests as a life coach. Along the way, as you can see, so many times what I thought my quest was and my vision for my life changed. And that's okay because I was figuring it out. And in many ways, I still am, because your main quest, here's a secret, goes on for your entire life. And just like in a game, the subquests under your main quest are going to change, but what you'll see is that so long as they're meaningful and they feel like you're advancing you in a meaningful way, they're all supporting the accomplishment of your main quest. And even if you do end up going on a side quest for a little bit, the skills and the abilities that you acquire on the side quest are going to be helpful on your main quest. For example, my experience with being an esports commentator helped me learn to talk on camera really, really well. My experience playing and streaming games helped me understand how to cultivate an audience and give them value. My experience running esports events helped me understand how to operate business. Everything that seemed like it might have been a waste of time was actually the exact things that I needed to get to where I am right now. So the key is to start by creating something, anything that seems like it'll be fun, important, rewarding, and useful. That's your only job. It's not to figure out what you're gonna do for the rest of your life. It's just to figure out what sparks that excitement in you right now. What quest do you want to follow? So I want you to think of this as just iteration. And in order to do really serious iteration, I want you to commit to doing things 90 days at a time. So for example, if you think that maybe making content could be really fun for you, just commit to, for the next 90 days, you're going to put out some piece of content every single day on social media like YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. And it doesn't need to be fancy. You can do it on your iPhone. You're just playing and you're just figuring out, is this a path for you? But you're being intentional and committed about it by saying you're gonna do it for 90 days no matter what. Or let's say that you're an engineer and you know how to code, but you don't really know what the billion-dollar idea is. That's okay. What if you just commit to, for 90 days, every week, you're gonna churn out a demo of some lightweight app that solves some problem that you care about. Doesn't need to be solving world hunger. It can literally just make making a part of your life a little bit easier. Or maybe you're a good communicator and you've really learned some life wisdom yourself and you want to be a life coach. All right, then text 5 people right after this video and offer to coach them for free for the next 90 days. And all that they have to do at the end of it is give you a testimonial if they like the job that you did. And here's a recap of phase 3, creation, in case you'd like to pause the video and then resume after answering the questions. If you just follow the little pings on your mini map, the little sparks of excitement that you have that are telling you, hey, listen, what'll happen is that immediately you will start to feel more meaning and more fulfillment in your life even before you find your main quest. And if you feel like you're making progress, then the dopamine rewards that you're getting are gonna help you feel more fulfilled and more meaning immediately. It'll kind of be like watching your EXP bar slowly fill up. And very quickly, you'll start feeling less existentially anxious and empty and less bored and more just excited, because instead of being in the waiting room for your life or being at a loading screen waiting for the game to begin, you'll be playing the game. And that's the point of life, to go play. Thanks for watching, and I wish you the best of luck on your main quest.